on their way home. And we'll have several treatment areas. We will treat green patients, you know, walking wounded. What's a green patient? Have you been through red, green, yellow, and black? So you guys understand all that? Green patients are walking wounded. You could be carrying your arm, but you're walking. So walking wounded. Red patients are fixing to die, airway, breathing, circulation. They need care right now. Black patients are patients that are triaged. You know, this one patient is going to use all of my resources and is going to die anyway. They get comfort measures. They don't get transported. So they will be in the alternative care center with the patients that we're holding because the hospitals are overwhelmed. Red patients go out first. Yellow patients go out next. And we have to have a place to care for the green patients and send them home. And we have to have a place to hold the black patients and keep them comfortable. And we have to have a place to monitor the yellow patients and continuously reassess them so that we can communicate with the transport officer who needs to go next. As soon as there's a place, as soon as there's a bed, this is what we need, this is what we need. Now the other thing that is really fun here is that you have sono and you have radiography. And I'm going to talk a little bit about sono because this is in your future. The paramedics, Temple Terrace already has sono machines in their rescue cars, and you will be doing sonos in the future in the field. So we have some special services that are really cool here. You have radiology and you have sono, and we can do a little bit more triage that way. Sono, we do trauma triage with sono, and I'm going to show you that. But radiography, you know, people with closed fractures can be x-rayed, immobilized, and sent home to see an orthopod in a day or two. They don't have to go to the local hospitals. On a normal day, if you break your wrist, you're going to the hospital. On an abnormal day like this, you're going to be deconned, you're going to get splinted, you're going to get pain medicine, and you're going to get a referral for the next day because there's no way you're getting any local hospitals or any orthopods because they're all pulled in to do surgery right now. So this is what we're going to do. And the alternate, and the nursing students wanted to set up an ER, so we're going to set up an ER where the red patients go. I'm trying to get one of my ER buddies to come down there and be a total. Well, you know how ER does. They're a little drunk. To come down and be come down and be as reasonable as they can, and pass this, you know, take care, stabilize those patients for surgery or burn or whatever they need. So in the alternative care center, you're going to see also in the back an ER, a fake ER. So Tampa Fire Rescue is going to be in charge of triage and transport. They'll be working with the more senior paramedic students who will be there in a learning capacity. The victims will be the HCC students, and assisting in triage are your students. Treatment area, we're going to have supervised by HCC instructors as well as the Medical Reserve Corps volunteers. There's some very seasoned doctors and nurses that volunteer with us. Again, the victims are going to be the students, the caretakers are going to be students, and the green patient care is going to be ambulatory Band-Aid kind of stuff. And those patients are then going to be moved somewhere where they can watch what's going on in the alternative care area, so they can get a big bang for their buck too. So in the alternative care center, we're going to hold people for observation. It may be that you just need to watch them a little while and make sure they're okay and they don't need to go anywhere. It may be that they're yellow patients and there's nowhere for them to go yet. So we're going to hold patients there. We're going to have your supervising instructors as well as Medical Reserve Corps volunteers in there. You guys will be providing the care there. You will also be the victims, and we'll be doing comfort measures for the black patients. Green and yellow will be caring for. Green hopefully will be observed or streeted, sent home, and the yellow will be held until there's a place for them to go. This is kind of exciting to me that you have sono because it's very useful at triage. We use it in the trauma room. If you've been at either trauma centers, you'll see them do exams, and I'm going to show you one. I have a few slides. The care of the victims are going to be the students again. Any questions about that so far? It's going to be fun. We understand that this is a training drill. Other drills, we have evaluators that are actually looking at what we're doing. We're being tested. The participants that are coming from the fire department and the EOC and the Medical Reserve Corps, we're going to be tested. I mean, we're going to be evaluated on our ability to communicate. You guys are there for training, and we're not being evaluated on your training. You're there because we assume you want to be there. And, but you'll see that there'll be evaluators walking around looking at the communications and maybe asking you a question. And if you don't know the answer, that's okay. Just say, I don't know that answer, but I'd ask my immediate supervisor. One of the things that you'll need to do also is the IS 700 course, which I already mentioned, because that'll explain incident command structure to you. It's very basic. It doesn't take very long to do. You'll get a lot out of it. It's free online, and your instructors are going to tell you about that. Does anybody have any questions so far? I wanted to go through this Seno thing. The reason, now this is the future. I talked about where we're at. This is a part of the future, and I thought it'd be kind of exciting to you. This is in the trauma bay, and this is us doing a fast exam on a trauma patient, and you can get some great information to help you, especially in blunt trauma. Is this patient yellow or red? Or actually, sometimes the green patients will walk in and they collapse and you slap this. I've had people with like splenic bleeds that have come in, and they've come in by private car, but in fact they fell in, at some point they lose enough blood volume that they're very symptomatic, and it's like, what did I miss here? Okay, so I'm just going to show you a little bit about this. I'm going through it pretty quickly. These are the kind of machines we have in the ER that we run around with, and I'm always cleaning them. Somebody's always getting them all full of gunk. Okay. Basically, what ultrasound is sound waves. It's much higher than, energy waves that are much higher than what you can hear, and we bounce it off organs. And depending on the density of the organ, you'll get a different kind of an echo. If you hit gas, that just disperses it, so you can't really sono through gas. I should let you give this lecture. This is going to be short and cute. Basically, in the 80s, the German surgeons started using it. It was working really well for them, but nobody bothered to translate this into English, so we didn't really know about it until the 1990s. And it's a great, all the residents are required to be really good at it. What it is good for is non-invasive bedside screening to evaluate the need for draining blood around the heart, like a blunt trauma with a pericardial effusion, or looking at abdominal or torso trauma. And actually, I reallocated resources at the hospital and took an old Seno machine that they weren't using in cardiology like 15 years ago to using codes. Because, what do you call it now, PEA or EMD? PEA? So the question is, we're doing CPR on somebody, is the heart still beating? Is this really electromechanical dissociation? You put that Seno on, and if the heart's beating or trying, boom, you're back to giving fluids full tilt boogie. If you have a nice little QRS and there's absolutely no cardiac activity, then the code's over. There's not a whole lot you're going to do there. So even 15 years ago, we were using it to help us make decisions in really critical patients. These are the in the trauma bay. It's boom, 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 boom. 4 views, and I'll show you what they are. And you get great information from those four views. And here's what those views are. And the reason, and Temple Terrace is doing this in the field. We trained them actually at Tampa General, and they're doing it in the field, and it helps them with destination criteria. Now, if you work for Tampa Fire and you have 8-minute transports to the nearest trauma center, probably not a big deal. If you work for Hillsborough County and you have a 45-minute transport, but there's a community hospital that's closer and you're hedging about this, you slap this on, you see free fluid, boom, you're going to a trauma center. It could make a very big difference in resource allocation on a daily basis. During a mass casualty drill, if you have a lot of blunt trauma, a lot of people that were under chunks of stadium that collapsed, you need to know if they're bleeding inside. This would be great at triage. So, but this is just, I don't have a pointer here, but this is just kind of we took somebody and sliced him in half, and his back is down, his belly is up, and where that black area is in there is where blood would collect if it was free in your belly, there and in your pelvis. So that's what we're looking for. We're looking for blood in those areas, and we're looking for blood in the pelvis, and or liquid. Now, if you have somebody with ascites, that's a great person to learn, because that looks like blood, and there's a whole lot of it, and it's hard to miss. So that's a good learning experience. This just shows you that it's going to be in the pelvis, too. And this is just, instead of cutting this guy in half, we just took the skin off his belly. So it shows you where the blood is. They call it the pouch of Douglas, down in the pelvis and up in the pericardial gutters. But basically, it's around the kidneys on both sides. And the kidneys are kind of cool because they're easy to see. So once you find a kidney, then, once you learn how to do that, and we're going to play with them. If we can get one working done in the alternative care center, we're going to lube a few of you guys up and look at your stuff. Yeah, mine does that too. I know how to turn it off. So, I don't have a pointer, but what we're looking at here is kidney and liver. And if you had blood, it would show up in between there. That one doesn't have any blood. The kidneys are usually pretty easy to find. And there's what blood looks like. Blood is a liquid. It's not as dense as the organs, so it's going to look black. It's going to let the the energy pass through. And so if you see a black outline, and you didn't see that on the last one there, you see a black outline, then there's fluid in there, and you're suspicious that there's blood, given the scenario of trauma. So we slap these on in the trauma center, you know, boom, while somebody's doing their airway breathing circulation, the fast machine's sitting right there. One of the ER residents is in there gooping the patient up. Normal, here's a normal view. This is actually harder to see. It would be hard for you to find anything in here because this was like a blowed up spleen. And then the look under the diaphragm gives you a heart view. And one of the things you can see is if there's fluid around the heart. But the other one is you can see, sometimes we're seeing patients and maybe you don't know that they have a spinal injury. People with spinal cord injuries will drop their heart rate and drop their blood pressure. So you don't know if it's because they're bleeding somewhere and they have a low blood pressure, or if it's because they have a spinal injury. But you can slap this on and look at the heart and you can get an idea if it's empty or not. If it's beating like crazy and it's real small, then there's a volume loss somewhere, so you give volume. If it's full or even full to overflowing, then you need to think that perhaps you're fluid overloading. Is it a problem to fluid overload people in the field? This is a yes/no question.
Yes.
Yes, it is. We had a kid that came in not too long ago who actually was a spinal cord injury that was not recognized. They got a lot of fluid in the field and they got more in the trauma room because he dropped his pressure, and he ended up with an abdominal compartment syndrome because they gave him too much fluids. I don't know if you guys study abdominal compartment syndrome. You know how you can have compartment syndromes in your arms and legs from crush injuries, cuts off the circulation. Same thing happens there. So much fluid went into his belly that it cut down the circulation, cut his cardiac return down, and the kid coded because of the pressure in his belly, and as soon as they unzipped his belly, he was fine. Turned out the kid was a spinal cord injury. Didn't need all those fluids. Sono would have been a good thing to know in the field. It was a long transport. This is a pericardial window looking at the heart, and there's blood in the sac around the heart. So if you were running a code or you had a trauma patient that had that and your patient crumped, you'd be sticking a needle in that if your patient crumped. Now, I'm not advocating that you stick needles in things, although I like doing that. That's what I do, but that's what would be right for this patient if they're unsafe. So this is really kind of a good thing to have in the field. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on it, but this is the bladder view. There's no blood around the bladder here. But probably a hematoma, because you see how it's irregular there? The bladder should be a rounded structure, and on this side there's kind of a little bump. This is the bladder here. So there's probably a pelvic fracture and a hematoma down there. And there's fluid, actually a fluid below, and this is a sideways view. There's fluid in the bladder and there's fluid around the bladder too. It's not the best one. So anyway, it's really good. There's only 4 positions. It's boom, 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 boom. You can get some great information in an unstable patient. It can help you with destination criteria, and we are going to play with it in the alternative care center, because when our yellow patients crump and become red patients, we're going to try to figure out why, so that we can get them where they need to go, to a trauma center or to the black area if what they have is something we can't fix. So, any questions about that's the future? It's going to be cool. And it's not hard. It's pretty easy. If I can do it and I got bad eyes, you can do it. Does anybody have any questions for me? No, I put y'all to sleep. You're all hypoglycemic here, need some blood.
Are we gonna get all that information?
I'm leaving the slides with them. They can give it to you, but I think they videoed this so that you can look at it, because I know I'm from Pittsburgh and I talk really fast. My patients always say, slow down. English is my primary language and I cannot keep up with you.
Okay.
So that'll all be there. And if you Google any of that, there's a lot of great information. Be careful about the sites when you're using the internet, but as far as emergency management, there's a lot of good stuff. As far as disease entities, there's a lot of good stuff on the CDC site. And there's a lot of trauma and mass casualty stuff there too. Just use reliable sites, not stuff that people are making up.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, we're going to have fun. Your victims are all going to have tags on them. Those that are at triage are going to read those tags and classify them as green, yellow, red, or black, and then they're going to move through the system, and then when they're in the alternative care center, they're going to change. They're going to, all diseases and injuries it's a dynamic process. You're getting better, you're getting worse, something's changing, so we're going to reassess the patients, and they're going to change, and some are going to get worse, so it'll be fun. And any of you who are on clinicals at hospitals, on the 23rd is the hospital drill. You should make sure that you're somewhere around the emergency departments for the drill.